Something I was thinking about for several years is why some information sticks in our head long after we hear about it and others seems to just fade away. Well, it's because of storytelling, where good storytelling taps into our emotions, which makes information more memorable and impactful. In this video, we're going to explore the secrets of engaging storytelling that you can start using today in your personal and professional life. Storytelling has been a fundamental part of our human connection for thousands of years. Whether it's to entertain, educate, or inspire, the power of a well-told story is undeniable. But what makes storytelling truly engaging? And how can you master the art of storytelling to captivate any audience? Well, today, that's what we're diving into. A few years ago, in my career, I had to give a presentation to a large conference of professionals. I had all the data, the facts, the figures. But a quarter way through, I noticed that the audience was dozing off and wasn't engaged. And then in comparison, the next presenter kept them on the edge of their seat the entire time, even though their presentation was far less impactful and was on a less exciting subject. That presentation was a turning point for me, realizing that I had to learn how to incorporate good storytelling. This is where I learned that the way you present information is just as, if not more important, than the actual information you present. And that's when I really started to dive into the art of storytelling. As an ENTJ personality and someone who spent a lot of time in my analytical role as an engineer, I've often struggled with my communication and making it more engaging and less analytical. My natural tendency is to focus on the facts and the figures. But I've learned without a compelling story, this can just fall flat. Over the past few years, I've been practicing, researching, and reading, all to improve my ability at storytelling. And in this video, I'll share my personal struggles and what I've learned to help improve it, in hopes of saving you those same struggles and possibly some embarrassing moments. The fact is that many people struggle with storytelling simply because they don't know where to start and how to keep their audience hooked. I've been there, and if you want proof of this, just look at my earlier YouTube videos. This problem isn't uncommon, but that doesn't mean it's not something we should try to solve. Common issues for this include a lack of structure, missing the emotional depth, and the inability to make your story relatable to the audience. For me, one of the biggest challenges has been moving beyond just presenting the information to actually creating something that the people engage with emotionally. I've realized that my presentations were often too dry, too focused on the detail, and not enough on the journey or the emotion behind them. Recognizing these challenges is the first step towards improvement. So now let's look at a few tactics to help you improve your art of storytelling. Here are some key storytelling techniques that can transform your narratives and make it a lot more engaging to your audience. First up, we have conflict. Every great story needs a problem. Conflict is what drives the narrative and keeps your audience interested. Think of that horror story where the person's going to the basement and you're in the edge of your seat saying, "No, don't go down there." Because without this conflict, your stories fall flat. For example, my own experience. When I'm giving an update on a completed project and I just focus on the success, no one cares. Instead, what makes a much more engaging story is when I tell them about the journey and the obstacles that I faced, like the tight deadlines, the suppliers that weren't living up to their promises, or the team that left me high and dry. With this conflict and the narrative, the audience can become much more engaged in my success and ultimately their success. Conflict gives your story tension and a sense of stakes, which is what keeps the people interested in learning how it's going to be resolved. Next up, we have character development. Strong characters, whether real or fictional, are the heart of any story. Think of Jesus of Nazareth or the adventures of Thor and Loki. Your audience needs someone to root for, someone to connect with. In my case, I've had to learn to humanize the technical aspects of my story, to bring in the people that were involved and their emotions, their motivations, and their challenges. Developing your characters through the story, even in a professional setting, makes your story more relatable and engaging. And that brings us to having relatable themes. The most powerful stories tap into universal experiences, such as love, loss, triumph, and failure. When your audience sees themselves in your story, they're much more able to connect with it and relate. This is something that I always overlooked. But now when I'm giving presentations, I'm trying to make them more relatable. I try to weave in themes that resonate on a deeper level, whether it's overcoming adversity or achieving innovation. These themes make the story more relevant to the audience in both their goals and their pain points. We've already covered a lot. We looked at conflict, character development, and relatable themes. Up next, we'll dive into show, don't tell. and how proper pacing can make or break your story. So stay with me to the end of the video because these next points can really elevate your storytelling. Show, don't tell. Instead of stating facts, paint a picture with your words. Use vivid descriptions and emotions to create a clear picture that your audience can visualize. This will bring your story to life and leave a lasting impression on the audience. I used to rely heavily on data breakdowns and bullet points on my presentation, but now I try to spend more effort describing the scene, the emotions, and the sensory details. For instance, instead of saying that, oh yeah, this project was stressful, I'll describe how the sun was setting while we were still in the office cranking away calculations. I'll talk about how the pressure in the room was so strong that you could taste the tension, and that feeling when you finally hit the breakthrough and figure out the solution. But instead of being happy, you beat your head against the wall, wondering why it took you 10 hours to figure out something so painfully obvious. And now moving on to the principle of pacing. A well-told story has rhythm. And this is something I'm constantly trying to get better at. Your pacing will create a sense of suspense and release. It's what allows you to emphasize those key moments and gives your audience a chance to reflect and understand what you said. An example of this is when a comedian tells a joke. If they move on to the next bit right away, it's too soon. They have to give time for the tension before that climax, and then time for the audience to absorb it. I still struggle with rushing through my stories, especially when I'm hosting a meeting or giving talking points. My subconscious wants me to just rush through it and get it done. But slowing down at these critical moments allows everyone else to catch up and be on the same page. And it builds suspense and draws the audience into your story. Think of it like music. It's not just about the notes, but it's also about the space between the notes to allow it to sink in. Improving storytelling is a journey, and there's countless resources out there to help you. One thing that I found very helpful is a few key books that have allowed me to understand the principles and provide some actionable insight that I can apply. The first book is Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. This book explores why some ideas stick in our head while others fade away. It's a great resource for understanding how to make stories more memorable and impactful. And then we have the book Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. This book is a funny and fun read, but it's also fantastic in providing a guide to crafting better stories from your everyday life in a way that captivates and connects with your audience. And finally, we have Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. This book is particularly useful for anyone in business and especially marketing or product. It has helped me reframe how I think about my conversations, my marketing, and any of my messages in a way that will connect deeper with my audience. And by the way, if you're like me, and you have more books in the queue than you'll ever have time to read, I would recommend starting off with some book guides. I've been using short form for about 2 years now, and what I like to do before I dive into the commitment of reading a full book, I'll read their comprehensive guide on that book and see if the takeaways and the lessons are actually going to apply to the question that I have and the problem that I'm looking to solve. Short form has these powerful guides on both Made to Stick and Building a Story Brand. And as a bonus, I partnered with Shortform to provide you with a free trial with unlimited access and a 20% off discount code on an annual membership. If you're interested in this, check out the link below, and I think you'll really enjoy Shortform. Now let's look at a real-world example of storytelling in action. Take Steve Jobs' iconic iPod launch. He didn't just present a product. He first defined the pain point that we had and told the story of revolutionizing technology and changing the world. Jobs built the anticipation, presented challenges, and then introduced the iPhone as a hero to that story, forever changing the benchmark for how we communicate our product. 1,000 songs in your pocket is a brilliant piece of marketing because it relates to the customer's pain points. No one cares if they have 128 or 512 megabytes. What they care about is how many songs that gives them the freedom to listen to. When I started applying similar storytelling principles to my product presentations, I noticed an immediate benefit. By giving the journey of the product, introducing pain points, and then providing a solution, I found that the audience was much more engaged and invested in the outcome. Well, there you have it. In this video, we've covered a lot. We've explored the key elements to keeping a story engaging, where you have conflict, character development, relatable themes, showing rather than telling, and pacing. We've also discussed some of my pain points in this and how I've been able to reframe my own thinking to get better outcomes. Mastering these techniques will take time resources, and dedication. But every time you practice, your storytelling will get better and your results will improve. You'll connect deeper and more authentically with your audience, which is really what any of us can ask for. So I challenge you to start using storytelling in your personal and professional life. And if you have any other resources you'd recommend, leave them in the comments below so that our entire audience here at Peak Life can improve. So thanks for watching Peak Life, where we journey together to design, build, and live our own peak life. Check out the next video up here, which is all about my calm approach to tough conversations. Thanks,